We met a long time ago, probably in an airport. It was like a hello, nice to meet you. And then when I got Bash, right? I got that first, and then they were looking for Franklin. His name came up, and I was really excited about that because I respected some of his work.
Mainly Garfield.
Yeah. A Tale of Two Kitties. And then, really, I'm gonna take it from here because I don't want to talk anymore.
Are you high?
Then we filmed the pilot in Atlanta.
Yeah, we did. We had to do what they call a chemistry read. Mark Paul already had the job. I had to audition with him, and it was me and two other guys, very different. And one of them actually came back and guest starred later. But we went in, and I said we said hi to each other as we were about to read, and we hugged, which is weird because we didn't know each other very well. But we hugged, and Bill and Kevin, we've heard from Sony and stuff. They're like, when we did that, they were kind of like, oh, okay, we kind of already buy them as buddies. Is that accurate?
Casting is difficult and imprecise, and lots of shows that should make it don't, because you don't get it right. And when the two of them saw each other, it had been after a long, not that long, but sort of exhaustive thing of looking around. And it's true, the second they hugged, I looked around the room, Kevin looked around the room, it's like, okay, we got this. And it continued to get better from there. They mentioned we shot the pilot in Atlanta, and those are long, hard days. And at the end of the day, we would all go to the bar or whatever, and we'd see these guys, and they were working on the next day's work together. And so the chemistry they had, yes, it's natural, but it comes with a ton of hard work. So we've been very lucky with these guys.
Those last few scenes were absolutely hysterical, as you guys can hear the audience. How much of that was improvised? And I felt like I was watching a blooper reel that I was really excited to be watching.
We had a lot of fun with that scene.
I mean, when you get Franklin and Bash high, I mean, what do you get?
We don't get to do it often on the show, get them really high, and some of it's improv. Like, you can't mention Star Wars in a script because you'll get sued. So rolling up as Emperor Palpatine and Vader was a little bit of riffing, but most of that was in the scene. We just couldn't stop fucking giggling. That, and anytime Anthony Ordonez, who plays the new cat, what's his name? Mundy, who plays Dan Mundy, who's new. I don't know if you guys love him as much as I do now, but that guy's, first of all, he's just adorable. But the Stone scenes and any scene with Anthony, I have giant trouble keeping it together because he makes me laugh so hard. But
that whole snoring thing was ad-libbed by him. And so when you see Breckin crack up, he really cracked up, and that was not scripted, and we kept it the show.
I'm not a good actor, so I can't keep it together. Mark Paul is I rarely think he does things well, but he can keep it together. He doesn't break in scenes. I enjoy the show, and I instantly become a viewer. And if something makes me laugh, I'm like, it's really funny. And Mark Paul constantly going, what the fuck are you doing? I'm like, I'm watching Franklin and Bash.
What's so great about the show is, the lighthearted fun, the banter. As the seasons go on and they get more responsibilities, how do you balance still keeping them the guys that they are with also having to take on more responsibility?
We should get them stoned.
Well, this is the first time they feel responsible, because the whole reason why they didn't take the mask is, Breckin's character realizes they have to pay their rent and people are depending on them, and that's why he opts to go the safe route. As the season progresses and they start to get their sea legs under them, they start to get back to their old selves and have fun. But the whole, Bill and I, whenever we break stories, it's all about making sure that the audience is entertained. But there has to be stakes, especially with a legal show. It seems, listen, it can be silly and fun. Believe it or not, silly and fun is sometimes hard to write because you have to balance it with something that matters. And these guys can straddle that line. They can be really funny, and they care. They really want to care, not only as actors, but their characters have to care about what they're doing.
Great guest stars over the years. Breckin and Mark Paul, is there anyone that you'd love to have come on? Did you break your mic already?
I got it.
Any guest stars or, dream guest stars you guys would like to have?
Are you guys baked, really?
No. I always wanted to have Richard Dreyfuss or like Michael Keaton, just guys I grew up with loving. But we had a lot of good people this season as well. Ray Seahorn joined the cast as a regular, semi-regular this season, who plays Ellen Swatella, who we just adore. Since season 1, we were trying to get her on. She kept working a lot because she's really good. And she was on Whitney for a while, and so it was really great to add her to the cast. Kat Foster comes back, Kurt Fuller, like actors where maybe you don't know their names, but the minute you see him, like, oh my god, I love that guy. He's in everything. I love that guy. We had a couple of Rob Lowe was last year.
This year we have Kevin McKidd.
Yeah, Kevin McKidd comes, who's on that show with the doctors.
Does he have his real accent?
He gets to use his real accent. It's awesome.
Wow.
Took it to the end.
It's the sexiest fucking Shrek accent you've ever heard. It's so great. He's fantastic. And he just all manly comes on and he's got a leather coat and things like that. And he just comes in there and you're swooning. He's great. I was swooning.
Breckin wrote the script that I directed. I got the cast, and that was the first time that we. I did direct one this year. Yeah, right after you destroyed our crew with the episode you directed. But no, what was fun was that you see the script and you're like, Kurt Fuller would be great in this, or who's the other actor that we lost to this guy, James.
James Reed.
Oh, James Remar from
James
The
Remar.
Warriors and from 48 Hours
Yeah.
and many other things.
But that was really fun. Like as an actor, going through that process really sucks. Having to be cast, but to actually be in the room on the other side and watch actors come in to read for you was a cool deal. And it was fun to like see a script that he wrote and say, who did you see as that role?
We've seen love interests come and go. Anyone coming on this season that either of your characters are going to get involved with?
Megan Fox comes. I'm just kidding. Ray Seahorn and I are kind of locked together on and off throughout the season, which is fun. And then Peter's mom.
No, don't say that.
I didn't say anything. So let me finish talking. God, you're not the boss of me here. I can do anything. Jane Seymour comes back on the show. Kat Foster. We have people coming back. Like we have ladies in the house coming back. I'm trying to think who Peter
Oh, yeah,
nails.
Your mom.
Daniel Panabaker comes back on the show.
Just tell him. Kevin, if you want to tell him, tell him.
Go for it.
Jared has sex with Peter's mom.
Jared may or may not sleep with Peter's mom. No, I mean they have sex. He just doesn't sleep.
Pete had to also act in it, and I thought did an amazing job, not only directing, but having to actually ground himself. And it was a very difficult episode because, as you might expect, it didn't go over well that Jared slept with Peter's mom. So it
Went pretty well for me. I'm having shorter people. Tyrion Lannister.
Marco, you've been on a few long-running shows. What do you think it is about Franklin and Bash that just really resonated with viewers?
Oh, with viewers.
You were more cool.
I don't know. Why would I think that's a question that
I think people like you guys. I mean, I think that you guys are.
I was gonna say that, but that would seem like
Better advice. But this chemistry that Bill alluded to is not something that's easy. You get lucky, and we think of these guys as one character. We shoot them. If you notice, a lot of times they're shot together. We don't like singles because there's so much that happens between them, and that chemistry is better played in a two-shot. And listen, there's as much as Bill and I would like to think that it's on because of us. If you guys don't deliver the goods each week, nothing's gonna happen. And they don't fire actors if the show's not working. They fire these two guys. So thank you for keeping us employed.
And just to add to that, someone mentioned earlier about how much is ad-libbed and how much of it isn't. And the answer is a fair amount. And that's what, for me, and Kevin makes this partnership so great. Sometimes they get a little annoyed if we just say, like, just do some funny shit at the end of the scene. But, we set them up to be funny, and we like the sort of not fly by the seat of your pants feel of the show, but there's an anarchy to the show. The show was originally developed as a comedy, and halfway through they said, no, we're going to put it on TNT, so you've got to make it an hour and it's got to have these stakes and this drama. And like Kevin said earlier, it's harder to do than you think, because they can be funny and running around on the beach, but it's like, oh, wait a second, our client's going to jail. And so how do you sort of find that balance? So it's difficult and it's challenging, harder than it probably looks. But like Kevin said, it's these guys and it's the fun of the show.
I have a question.
Oh, okay.
Is that a Saved by the Bell t-shirt? I don't know how to tell you this, but he was on Saved by the Bell. Kind of an amazing coincidence. Is that a Garfield? Oh, it's not. Is that a road trip? Oh, it's not. Okay. Why don't you get out of here with your Mark Paul Gosselaar t-shirt and go get a Breckin Meyer?
By the way, that's my favorite photo. That's my photo. That photo, can I have that photo?
This is a photo when I got older, I realized that could be misconstrued as to what I'm measuring.
So, you know when your phone rings and you can put on an avatar for who's calling? When Breckin calls me, that's the photo that comes up. It was this big. What are you doing with your
I
fingers?
have no idea what I'm doing.
I swear, it was that big.
I once caught a fish.
All right, we're gonna take some audience questions.
I was a lawyer for 10 years, and I haven't been a lawyer for 10 years, which is perfect because it means I've forgotten almost everything. When I first started working, I did work on a lot of law shows, and you learn really quickly that it's not to say that would never happen, is not useful. So we have, like, on the show, a bullshit meter of like, okay, we can't do that. We don't do that. And then we sort of go down to levels of like, well, that would never really happen, but let's figure out how we want to make it happen. So what we'll do, like in the second episode we ever did, we said we want Breckin to get drunk in court. But that's fine and good and funny that Breckin should get drunk in court, but we actually wanted to have it make sense and have it so that that wins the case. And it sort of does, it sort of holds water. So we try to keep in the world of what's possible, but we're not making a law documentary. All I've ever wanted to do, and I have it here probably as well as I've ever had it, is to work with friends, where you can just bullshit and have fun. So the idea of, we pitched the show as Superbad with lawyers. So it started out with two sort of like overgrown, not frat boys, but just sort of adolescents who never sort of, to a certain level, grew up. Exactly. And it sort of just took off from there. I don't know if you remember the genesis of how it all happened.
No, I remember you came in my office and said, I want to do super bad in a law firm, and I said, that's a stupid idea. And Jamie Tarsa said, that's a great idea, and I said, that's a fantastic idea. And glommed on. But I think that from there, you started talking about people you worked with, like Pindar. You really worked with Pindar.
I did.
It was really, these characters came out of Bill's head, and Bill's very good about reaching and doing the crazy stuff. And I'm kind of like the guy who just says, well, that's not going to work, but that's a great idea. And then we just try, we have a nice partnership. But I think it started with really Bill started with all those characters.
It's so funny because if you think of like the episode that he wrote and directed, it was strippers and puppets. The episode that he wrote that I directed was about a diner and a relationship.
Yeah, exactly.
And that pretty much puts it in perspective of what these two guys are.
That's why Bill will have a long career and I will be.
If he wants to write more, I'll direct the stuff that he writes. Honestly, that was the most fun that we've had, I think, in the 4 years that we've been on the show. That was a really good time. For him to write something, for me to direct, it was like the inmates were running the asylum.
I think he co-wrote it.
Babel.
Well, I think we learned it from watching together. Jason Ensler, who directed the pilot, was our directing producer the first 2 years, and actually did a cameo as the guy that the garage, who flips the keys. That was Jason. He taught us a lot. We learned a lot from him, and I know Mark, Paul, and Bill learned a lot from him when they directed their episodes. And he very early on said, you know, these guys play well together, and comedy a lot of times plays better when you're doing it in twos or even masters because it's more spontaneous, as opposed to cutting to a single for the joke, and you feel on a subconscious level sometimes that you're being manipulated. And when you see it organically, and these two guys just have it, that Lennon-McCartney thing where they riff off each other so well that you just don't want to take the camera. First time, we usually get cuts from first-time directors where there's all these singles, and then we just take them out and go to the two shots.
A painful moment for me that was funny, I think for them, that I'll tee up and they can tell, was first season there was an episode, just to show how grounded we are, where someone's head falls off. And so someone had to volunteer to make a latex head of someone who'd been frozen in the up in the mountains for a while. And so it sort of required, I'm maybe teeing up what happened, that the expression was something like this. and I volunteered, and they stole my head.
Okay, you guys, and then what happened? You guys have pictures?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was.
He was pissed.
So there was this so we had a full life-size mock-up of dead frozen Bill. And he was.
And it was in the morgue.
And he was in the morgue, and he has his
the-
mouth open, and he's covered in icicles and shit because he was dead from frostbite and all that. And he also got
And that
stabbed.
particular set was off our stage.
Yeah, that was a
this
separate
whole-
set. So one day, Mark, Paul, and I escaped, and we went to the morgue, and we took Bill's severed head, and took many, 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 many photos of us doing various acts. Some Game of Thrones fashion, some Red Shoe Diary fashion of us doing. And the amazing thing was, Bill, we didn't know, apparently felt a very strong connection with dead Bill, and was kind of upset by the things we did to him. Now, some of those things you would be upset if someone did to you.
Right. Imagine me getting upset when I see a picture of my head halfway up your ass.
But the expression was one of joy. I mean, he was ready to receive whatever Mark Paul was going to deliver unto him. Any scenes we have with Reed Diamond, who plays Carp, we just love. We absolutely love that guy, and he's such a good sport because it's a pain in the ass to work with the two of us when we get going and we want to riff and we want to play, and he's our ultimate foil. So he's amazing in keeping a straight face because we can't do it.
He held his own too.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I mean, this thing is like, I don't think he had done comedy before this. You'd worked with him, but it's funny when you see these actors who you know for being dramatic actors, and then they come on set and you're like, this is one of the funniest guys I've ever worked with. He's hands down just hysterical as Damien Kirby kills us. I tend to, Donald Faison, who was in that movie, and we've done a couple movies. Donald Faison and Seth Green are still kind of my bestest buddies in the world, other than Jackass McGillicuddy over here. And do you hang out with any of your? You and Dennis
like
Hastings are really tight.
Dennis who?
The guy who played Belding. Who's in A Million Ways to Die in the West,
Dennis,
by the way.
Is he really?
Yeah. Belding's in Seven Crows movie.
No, Tiffany and I are friends. I think Elizabeth and I have kept in touch, and Mario and I have like Twittered each other back and forth.
Just dimples, dimples.
Muscles, dimples.
Muscles, dimples. Winky face, muscles, dimples.
I'm doing a push-up right now.
I'm doing 3 push-ups right now.
Traps.
Time for one more question. I'm right there.
Hashtag blessed.
Way to bring the conversation down.
Jesus.
Let's talk about these guys.
Go back to work.
There's no set way. No set way. Sometimes we've we'll reverse engineer something. In the pilot, we had a beautiful woman, an actress named Marcia Monroe, take her clothes off in court, and that just started from, we want to see a beautiful woman take her clothes off. And then you can build a story around that. Or sometimes you're like, oh, we want to do a case about, seems to be a running theme here, a woman who F's her husband to death. And so that becomes the one-liner, and then you have to build it. And then it gets hard, right?
Yeah, and this year,
Then it gets really hard.
we're getting hard. This year, which was great, was that Turner said, go back to your roots and what you guys used to do. If you go too far, we'll pull you back. And that's why there's zombies and getting high. And Jared having sex with Peter's mom. And they never called us that we went too far, which was great. That was a great partnership this year.
I wonder
That was
what
for
too far
Turner.
would be.
They forgot we were
Too
there.
far would
And
be in that case.
it made us think, we're just actually wondering if anybody was watching.
Yeah.